Hi everybody, welcome back to the Claremont Classic Garage. Today, we're waiting on parts for a couple of our projects, as usual, so there's only one thing I can do. Start another project. So let's have a look at it. This here is a 1948 Ford 8N. Well, that was the first year they were offered, was 1948. And this thing and me have an interesting history. It's just a funny story, really. Way back when, ages and ages and ages ago, it was a nice summer day. We didn't have anything to do. And I was on Kijiji, I think, looking at old tractors. And I came across an ad for a yard sale up... oh gosh, it was about an hour and a half away from here, I guess, maybe up by Aurelia. And as part of the ad, it said the guy had an 8N with a loader. So I said to the wife, it's a nice day. Let's go for a ride up there and check out this yard sale. So we drive up there, and yeah, he had this 8N with a loader all right. Oh, brother, I've never seen such a thing. I think he wanted about $1,200 for it. And man, it was tough. Every single part of it was worn out. It had his old Wagner pipe loader on it that was welded about every 3 inches. The tractor itself, every piece of tin on it had a hole in it. The front of the hood and everything had been sawed off with a... I don't know what, maybe an axe, because the radiator had gone bad in it. And because of the loader, they couldn't get the hood off to change the radiator, so they basically just hollowed the core out of the radiator that was there and put one from a car in front of it. After, of course, they sawed off the front of the hood and got rid of the grill. And then they had these long flex hoses that reached out around everything to join the rad. It had no exhaust system on it. Oh, it was... I'd never seen such a mess. But, I mean, it was still running and driving, but barely. Anyway, needless to say, I left it there. Probably a couple of years after that, another little ad popped up on Kijiji. Old Ford tractor with loader, not running, cheap, $300 or $400. I said, oh, that sounds like fun. So I contacted the guy. I said, mail me a picture of it. The guy emailed me a picture. Wasn't it this same bloody thing? But it was the guy that the first guy that had sold it to that was trying to sell it now, because now it was dead. So we came up with some kind of over the phone, made some kind of a deal on the thing, and I was going to go up and get it. Well, a couple of hours before I left to go get it, the guy phones me and says, oh, it's not dead anymore. I got it running now. And he wanted like 3 times the money for it. So, you know, I told him to pound sand and left it at that. 2 or 3 years after that, another ad for a little Ford tractor. Was it a Quonset hut? This time it was up around Collingwood somewhere. No, you know where it was? It was at Wasaga. It was in Wasaga Beach. So, I hop in the truck with my old trailer, and we go zooming up there. He wanted cheap for it, too. Get in, the guy whips the garage door open, and I could tell right away, it was that same damn old tractor. He'd gotten rid of the loader. It didn't look so bad with the loader off of it, but it was the same old tractor. So anyway, that time I got it. It took me 3 times in about 6 years to get this tractor, but I finally got it. One of the reasons I liked it was it has a Sherman overdrive transmission. There it is on the floor there. So that's kind of a bonus. Originally, I think I was just going to take the Sherman out of it and scrap, you know, sell off parts and scrap the rest of it. But I got it home, and I got looking at it, and it had a rebuilder's tag on the engine. So I said, okay, let's get this thing running. We got it running. Holy cow, does the thing run good. typical rebuilder engine, man. I don't know what these guys used to do to these things, but they did it to this one too. Tons of compression, tons of oil pressure. It starts right up. It's got tons of power. It runs great. So I said, let's fix this old tractor. So by now, I've bought all the parts for it pretty much. I don't think there's anything else I need for it. Those parts have been on that blue cart for about 8 years. But hey, at least I'm prepared. And I've got a bunch more parts in totes in my basement, all cleaned and sandblasted, ready to go. It's just things got in the way. It ended up buried in all that mess over there. And then we started with race cars and this, that, and the other thing. And before you know it, I'm telling you, it's probably been 10 or 12 years since I took this tractor apart. But now is when we're going to put it back together. So I'm going to get started. I got to go and get a table set up so I can spread some parts out. And I guess the first thing we're going to do is get the back of it sorted out, get the hydraulic pump and the lift cover and the PTO shaft back in it. And then get the axles, get the end play on the axles all set up, get the brakes all put back on it, and then we'll work our way forward. We'll get the transmission on, get the Sherman resealed and put back in, and this one should go together relatively quickly. I know I've said that probably 1,000 times, and it always ends up blowing up in my face. But this time, honestly, I really think we're in good shape with this one. So, let's get to work. We're going to start this job the way we start out pretty much every job around here. We got to sort out all the nuts and bolts and hardware. I'm pretty sure this is the nuts and bolts and hardware from 2/8 because in the meantime, since I took that one apart, I did part one out. And I think all the hardware from it is here. But I won't know until we start going through it. So I'm going to start. That took a little doing, but I've got them mostly sorted out. Turns out there was only bolts from one tractor, so I'm not sure where the bolts from the one I scrapped are, but I guess they'll turn up somewhere. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is go through this cart and dig out the parts that I need for starting at the rear of the tractor. All right, we're ready to start putting this thing together. I've kind of assembled here everything from the back of the transmission back. So we can put as much of that together as we can. And then we'll join the transmission to it and put as much of that together as we can. And then we'll put the engine and the front axle and everything on last. Going to go ahead and put the axles in now. This is a 1948, so it does not have the inner axle seals used on the 50 and up tractors. So that means that these wheel bearings are lubricated by the axle lube. You can, I guess, I think you can put Sure Seals in an 8N. I'm not sure. I know we put Sure Seals in Ferguson's and 9Ns and 2Ns. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm just going to replace the outer axle seals, and we'll go with that. So the first thing we do grease these up when we first put them in to give them a fighting chance. And then what we have to do with these axles is set the end play. This is it's a ground surface on the ends of these, and you actually set it so there's just a tiny bit of lash in there. That's how you set the bearings. I assembled the other side with no shims. That's what I usually do. Now I'm going to assemble this side, and I'll show you how I set the bearing clearance, or pardon me, the axle clearance. Now the very first thing we do is we put on this seal. This seal ends up squashed between the hub and the bearing, and its job is to prevent oil from wicking up the splines and coming out that way. I've got two piles of shims here. These these ones I guess I'll show you first. These are the steel shims. This is original equipment. And they're getting kind of harder to find. You certainly can't buy them anymore. At least not that I've found. This is what you get now, the paper shims. Now they tell you to stack these up. But what I do is I basically use these on the first two positions to get a good seal. And then I do my shimming with these. I'll show you, it'll make more sense. So I put one paper gasket on, then I'm going to put the backing plate on, then another paper gasket, and then I'll just put a random pile of shims in there and bolt up the retainer, and we'll see what we've got. I installed 3 shims and tightened it up a bit, and I've got absolutely no end play. So we need to take it apart and put in some more. I put in a couple more shims and now you can hear it. We've got just a little end play on those axles, and that's exactly how we want it. Well, that'll do it for this time. Next time when we come back, we'll go ahead and get the cross shaft bushings changed. We'll install the cross shafts, the brake pedals, and the brake spiders and the shoes and all that, and get the drums on and get this thing closed up. Anyway, thanks for tuning in and embarking on a new project with me. Because look, we've got another project there half-baked. Another project there half-baked. So why not start another? Makes sense to me. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. So long.